When I first got in this business just a few years ago, well, more than a few years ago now, this was scale up. This was pretty much, this would have been like world-class advanced biofuels production at that time. So all of you who have gotten past this stage, I salute you. And you've done well to get to this point. There has been some pushback, as Matt has pointed out, and we're going to get into that in just a few moments. But I hope you're all having a very successful and very pleasant World Congress. And it is a great event, and I always enjoy coming here. So thank you for the invitation to Bio. I do want to point out that the very first company I think I ever covered in this business, just to kind of put things in perspective, how far you all have come. You guys remember the Swedish company that I cannot remember the name of, and I probably shouldn't name if I did, that planned to make advanced bioenergy by picking up and aggregating frozen bunnies. And they were going to, apparently a lot of bunnies perish during the Swedish winter, which does not surprise me at all, but it does surprise me that somebody was going to use that as a feedstock, and that was their path to world domination in advanced bioenergy. And they didn't make it. I'm sorry to say, unless you're out there. I'm so sorry if I didn't give you your due credibility. But it shows how far we've come. That was just seems a few years ago. And the very first time I came here to this conference was about 5 years. It was actually 5 years ago. It was in 2008. And at that time, somebody took me aside. It was a sort of wizened old veteran of this space, and said, cellulosic biofuels and cellulosic ethanol is 5 years away. And he paused, and he said, and it'll always be 5 years away. Now, you've all heard that joke. And so I thought, well, I laughed, and I thought it was very funny. And here I am 5 years later, and actually it happened. In fact, it happened in less than 5 years. So again, I salute you all that it's 5 years away remark. We don't hear that anymore, do we? So that's very good. So despite the global financial crisis and despite all the pushback, you guys have built a lot of scale, and we track now 300 advanced biofuels projects around the world in our Biofuels Digest tracking database, which you can download for free. So I will plug that, so please do go download that. But I wanted to put something in context before we talk about with our esteemed delegates, who have a lot more to share about this subject than I do. But I wanted to point out a little kind of a homily, if you will, regarding how to think about biofuels and how to think about the importance of what you do, which is to say this. Many of you have seen a presentation or 100 presentations where the slide says by 2050 we're going to have 9 billion people, and the challenges we're going to have providing food and so on and so forth. But as a thought experiment, I want you to not only think about the 9 billion people that we're going to have just, what is it, 30, who's a good math major here, 37 years away, is that? 36, 37 years away, and take yourself back just about 37 years ago, as many of you can, and you'll take yourself back to the late 80s. So it's not that far removed. We're to think about that time being out there. Now think about that time and grant everybody on the planet one thing. Grant them the same energy lifestyle that you have. Now, why shouldn't everyone have the same energy lifestyle that you have? What argument can you make that they don't deserve what you have today? So just give everyone your footprint today, map that out against 9 billion people, and what do you get? You need 5 times as much energy as we have today, which is to say everything that's ever been built, ever in the history of humankind, you have to do 5 times more, and you've got 37 years to do it, else you have to find an argument why they shouldn't enjoy the energy lifestyle you have, or find another planet to be on. So that is the challenge that we're in front of today. And I know that a lot of you in the audience have heard a lot about fracking and about the wonderful opportunities there are in fossil fuels, and there are. and they should be explored and they should be taken forward because we're going to need it all. But let's take the United States Petroleum Reserve as an example. Very large petroleum reserve. How long would that petroleum reserve last if it had to supply 2050's energy demand? 6 months. That's it. It's all gone. 6 months. And you might say, well, wait a minute. There's all this fracking and there's all these new hydrocarbons and all these unproved reserves are going to become proved. So Jim, you're kidding us when you say it's 6 months. It's going to be a lot more than that. That includes everything we think that's out there. So even if you have technological advances and you uncover everything that you have, you still need a lot more. We need all these technologies.